Welcome to episode 90 of the Lowdown Show. I'm Neil Graham. This week in our season finale, or year finale, Zac Kurylyk, managing editor of ADVrider.com, joins me. And it's a bit of a smorgasbord of topics. We talk about Zac's extremely serious motorcycle accident and the aftermath of that, how he's doing in his recovery. We look back over 2025. I opine on Harley-Davidson's woes. Zac touches on KTM. And then we talk about what's coming up in 2026. Some new machines from BMW and Kawasaki in particular that we're looking forward to trying, and a few other things that we touch on as well. But before we get to the podcast, a few words from those who make the Lowdown possible. The Lowdown Show is presented by ADVrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. With their new secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery. It's all built in. And eligible vehicle purchases are backed by up to $100,000 in protection. This is what modern car buying looks like. Get your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. Zac, it's good to see you. And what I'm most impressed with is that you are dressed like a circa 1995 bass player for a band like The Replacements or Husker Du or something like that. So congratulations on your wardrobe. Although this is like church-going gear where you're from, isn't it?
This is acceptable for meeting the Prime Minister and perhaps even the Queen.
Although the Queen is now a male, keeping with modern trends. Perhaps that's a conversation for a different podcast. It's been a big year motorcycle-wise for both of us. Mine for its levity and yours for its gravity. So as you noted to me, your case about your motorcycle accident is still before the courts. And so we're not going to get into the specifics, but of course, motorcycle accidents happen in an instant, and then it's the recovery that takes a long time and then is the most vexing. So how is it coming? How long has it been? What were your injuries and where are they now?
Let's see. My crash was October 12th. So it's been about 10 weeks, I guess. And I've come a long way, but I have a long way to go, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. What were your injuries?
It's a bit of a list. I had a compound fracture, not a compound fracture. I had multiple fractures in my left upper arm. My left upper arm, the shoulder was dislocated. I broke my left ribs and 5 ribs. I also broke my right wrist in multiple places. And I strained a couple of muscles quite badly. I hurt my hip and my abdominals, and they're still quite painful today. And I also had a brain bleed and smacked my head badly enough that I have double vision, and I still have double vision. That's not gone away. So it's a really long list of injuries. It's more than the rest of my life put together, not just motorcycling, anything I've done.
You say double vision, and all I can think of is that horrible pop song. God, how does it go? I don't even, because I'll get it in my head and I won't be able to get rid of it. So, but how is it? It's been 10 weeks. So how are you coming? Are you coming I suspect not as quickly as you would like, but is it as quickly as the doctors anticipated?
My surgeon is super positive on my recovery, and my physiotherapist seems to think it's going well. I'm less positive because I'm not sleeping very well. And I think that's a result of the concussion that I had. But, I'm mobile. People who saw me right after the crash and then didn't see me for 2 months and then have seen me again now that it's Christmas time are amazed at the progress I've made. So it's all in perspective.
I'm assuming that the most troubling is the double vision. Is that correct, or is it something else?
It is quite concerning. I can drive now. I have these goofy, well, they're not goofy, they're normal looking glasses. They seem goofy to me because I have 20/20 vision and I'm wearing glasses. But they have a prism on the lens that shifts the light over that lets me function day to day normally. Apparently, this is a common injury for motorcycle accidents. I never knew anybody else who ever suffered from this, but apparently it's quite a common thing.
And is it as simple as it sounds? I mean, is it just double images?
It's double images in some quadrants of my vision. Your eye is controlled by three muscles, and the nerve to one of those muscles has been either damaged or bruised or cut or something from hitting my head on the pavement. So it doesn't control the muscle properly. And when I look in that direction, I see two images. So most of the time, I can handle far off images, okay. But if I was in up close and personal conversation with you, I would have to either wear these glasses or I'd have to wear an eye patch or something because I would see two of you.
You know, the eye patch, I think, well, first of all, where you live, no one would even look twice. But so in other words, you have twice as much money, but you also have two wives to satisfy.
I said I went from 20/20 vision to 40/40 vision.
Now, are they saying that this will cure itself just over time? Is it a thing?
It is a thing, and it can cure itself over time. It can also not cure itself over time. So that's my life right now. I'm doing rehab to get through my injuries, and hoping that my eye will sort itself out this winter. I should see some change in the next few weeks, but the specialist that I met with did not make any guarantees. Let's put it that way.
Injuries are a funny thing. Any kind of injury could be a workplace injury or motorcycle car accident, but often there are sort of lingering emotional effects to going through it. I mean, how have you've been so busy? You've got a young family, and you've got to make a living like the rest of us. But have there been sort of greater reflection on motorcycling at all, or just life or risk, or your life as a father, or anything you can share with the philosophical journey?
I would almost hesitate to I hate to think too hard. Uh,
You know what? I was going to say that, but I was giving you a chance.
here's how I look at it. When my friend Rob Harris, who you knew and I knew very well,
Yes.
when he was killed in a crash nearly 10 years ago, at that time, I said, it won't change how I ride, because I've always known that the risk of injury or death was there. Of course, you know that, right? And at first, it didn't change how I rode. And then as I got older and my responsibilities grew, um, my best friend and I that ride together, his father was also killed in a crash, by a in his case by a motorist who was never held responsible. And we've both, I wouldn't say that we've necessarily slowed down, but we've taken a very measured approach in our riding the last few years, which is ironic because this crash that I was in, I am often known as the careful guy. Myself and my cousin that I ride with both have that reputation because we both lost people that we were very close to, in crashes. So will this change how I ride in the future? It might. I don't know. I might not be able to ride. Right now, I can't move my wrist to work a throttle. My physiotherapist and my surgeon says that will come back, and I'm working through it. But if I can't work a throttle, that obviously will change things greatly. My guess is I'll spend this summer riding a easier, slower bike, and then hopefully be back up to speed by the end of the year. Right now, I couldn't manage a motorcycle's controls, so it's pointless to even speculate about what might happen in the spring.
But they do say that, or correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a possibility, however slim, that motorcycling may not be in your future. Is that true?
It is a possibility, yeah. And especially if my vision doesn't correct itself, I could ride with my current prism glasses and so on, but everything would be different. I've lost quite a bit of my peripheral vision, Um, and, you know, it's one thing to ride a TW 200 around the logging roads around here. And it's another thing to go get on a big bike and go through the middle of, you know, Los Angeles or New York City or Toronto and have people trying to run you over from every direction. So my guess is it will change how I ride and where I ride somewhat, but I really don't know. It's hard to tell at this point.
Does that in itself cause stress? Because, you know, it's interesting that I think to some riders, and I've often wondered this about myself because I race, and we'll get into that in a minute, but you know, if I couldn't ride a motorcycle, and I kind of think I'd be okay. I think I've done enough of it. I've done enough of it over enough years that my thought process is always, if I can come out of it with half of my wits and my legs, and if I lose motorcycling, I'm ready to let it go. I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue. I mean, you're younger than I am. I mean, what is it for you? If you couldn't ride again, what would that be hard?
I certainly had that thought process when I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital quite a few days, and I didn't get a whole lot of encouragement from medical staff while I was there.
But you see, you got to tell them you crashed your bicycle because the Peloton had too many riders. Never mention the word motorcycle, honestly.
Yeah, well, that was my first mistake.
It was your first.
I've thought about it, and I've had a lot of enjoyment from motorcycling over the years. I've traveled and seen things and had a lot of fun bikes that I tested. I owned a lot of bikes that I really like. I own some of my favorite motorcycles I've ever owned right now, and I really enjoy riding them. If I never had that opportunity again, could I walk away? I think I've had a really good run. I had my motorcycle license for nearly 25 years and only had one serious accident. You know, I had good times and I was very happy. I had a happy riding career. I could look back on it. You know, if this was the end, I could look back on it happily. But I still think that there would be times I would miss. There would be things I would miss about it. Certainly motorcycle travel, I've always enjoyed traveling on a bike and seeing new places. And to me, it's just not the same on a car or in a car. So I would certainly miss that.
Well, for me, this was a big year. I went racing again for the first time in 6 years, and I didn't realize it had been that long. But throw COVID in there and the disrupting effects of that, and I mean, I'm 60 now, so it's not the easiest age to go back to something which is ultimately a young man's pursuit. But I was surprised how well I did. I got 3 podiums in 5 races with the Vintage Road Racing Association here in Canada, similar to ARMA in the US, a little bit older than ARMA, but same kind of thing, on my Ducati 748. So yeah, it was an interesting year. First of all, I got the bike in pieces, which I didn't expect. I had to rebuild the engine. In fact, there's a 3-part series on this. The first part is up now on motorcycle.com. I did it for Ryan Adams. And but I didn't know, and here was the thing for me with going racing again, I didn't know if I'd have the nerve. I was concerned that a degree, because as one ages, there's a degree of wisdom that you get from aging, at least I'd like to think. But there's also a degree of timidity that comes into it. And I'm not immune to that, but I felt really good. And I was within a second or so of my previous lap times from a number of years ago. So yeah, it felt really good. And of course, the great thing for me, and I think some people get this riding on the street, but I found that as I became a better and better street rider, I needed more of a challenge in motorcycling to keep it really interesting for me. And for me, that's racing. But I was surprised at how relaxed I was. I was probably more relaxed this time out than I'd been before. And also, but just this amazing sense of appreciation that you get to do this crazy thing, that you go out and this process of entering a race, just a single race. You leave the pit, you circulate, you come up to the starting line, and it's the most crazy thing to do. And I sort of you look at the starter, and you look at 24 people up sitting on the grass, and you think, my God, what am I doing out here? And it is the most glorious sensation, and the nerves and the butterflies. And of course, as soon as the lights go off and away you go, then you're just totally in it. But And it was great. And, racing people are wonderful people. Everybody was so happy to see me back and so welcoming. And yeah, it was a great summer. And I rebuilt the Ducati Desmodromic engine, which I didn't know that I could do until I had to do it. So yeah, my summer was really pretty much the counterpoint to yours. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. It's all thanks to their new secure purchase. Ever try to buy a car and end up in a parking lot with a stranger in some blind trust? Or spend half the day at a dealership talking to pushy salespeople and signing paperwork? Or maybe, worst of all, waiting for hours at the DMV just to transfer the title? Well, that era is over. For years, eBay has been the go-to for gearheads, collectors, and do-it-yourselfers because whatever you're into, from classics to SUVs to trucks to imports, eBay's got it. And now with secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your next ride, it's where you can buy it, start to finish. Sellers and titles are verified, paperwork is handled by experts, and payments are traceable and digital. So you know exactly who you're dealing with and exactly what you're getting. Plus, you can finance, insure, and register your vehicle all in one place. No more hours at the dealership, no more trips to the DMV. Get your vehicle plates and paperwork shipped to your door, ready to drive. And it's all part of one seamless process, designed to feel as easy as buying anything else online. And eligible vehicles purchased on eBay are backed by up to $100,000 in purchase protection. Thinking about selling your ride? Secure Purchase makes that simple too, because you know your buyer and their funds are verified. If you still own your car, the financing payoff is fully integrated. So you're not chasing paperwork or waiting on checks to clear. And with Secure Purchase, you get paid fast. And you're not going to be stuck chasing no-shows or answering the fifth, "Is it still available?" message. This is what modern car buying looks like. Skip the DMV, skip the sketchy meetups, buy it on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. So it's that time of year again when the year is running out of steam, just as we are running out of steam. And looking back over 2025, I think for me the big story is kind of and I'm going to write about this for the website soon. The malaise of KTM and Harley-Davidson, I think for me are the big stories. And I was talking to JT Nesbitt, who's joined us on the podcast before, ex-Confederate designer, lovable madman from New Orleans, who's developing a 4-cylinder American-made motorcycle called the Magnolia 4 as this passion project. He's truly is a mad scientist. But we were talking about Harley-Davidson, and he said Harley should make 40 or 50,000 bikes a year. I'm paraphrasing. And it's so true. I think that, we go on about Harley needs a lightweight and Harley needs this, and they need to go in other categories. And the more I thought about what he said, and the more I sort of contemplated this, it's like, no, we don't need another company that makes 150cc bikes for India. I mean, we've got all the Japanese, all the Indian companies, all the Chinese companies. I mean, you wouldn't expect, I don't know, take a band, Joe Strummer and the Clash. You wouldn't expect them to make, easy listening music. And, or, say, Pantera. You wouldn't expect them to do, a Christmas album. So why does Harley need to compete in every category? Now, I know this doesn't work with the whole shareholder thing. So maybe what Harley needs to do is tank, go to business, be bought by a group of interested employees, senior employees perhaps, be a private company again, and make 40 or 50,000 heavyweight American motorcycles, which is probably a sustainable number. I mean, whatever they made, 300,000 or 280,000 in the late 90s was a blip. It was a boom, like there's a housing boom, only so much more because of the baby boomers and their age and the economy. I mean, I just think we should let it be who it is. We don't need another company that makes shitty little motorcycles. And every time Harley does it, from time immemorial, from the Hummer in the 40s on through to that abomination now that they're making, the 440, which is just an appalling looking thing. I mean, just stop it. Make tour glides and wide glides and electric glides and whatever, and just do what you do best. Thoughts?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on that. First off, a lot of those small bikes weren't actually made by Harley. They were made by third parties. I mean, the 440 is made by, I believe, Hero in India, not Harley-Davidson. And the small stuff from the 70s was made in Italy as well. But to go back, that's right. I didn't want to mispronounce it. But as far as your music analogy goes, there are some bands that are successful because they've reinvented themselves many, many times over the years, right? I think of, and I know it's going to make me sound like this horrible dad rock loser, but I think of U2. U2 started off as sort of this independent sort of punk band from Ireland, and they kind of became this mainstream Americana rock and roll, and they went into that, what was it, discotheque and Octone Baby in the early 90s. Like they've constantly reinvented themselves. Now they should have stopped around 20 years ago because they've been terrible since. But for every U2, you're right, there is a Pantera or the Clash. And I think Harley-Davidson would probably benefit from what you're suggesting. Let me rephrase that. There are a lot of people who would lose their jobs at Harley-Davidson. So maybe suggesting the company as a whole would benefit.
Well, I think they're going to lose them anyway, whether there's a strategy or not. And of course, I don't want anybody to lose their job. But the question is do you have a strategy, or do you? Because what it seems now, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but when they're selling off the only thing that makes many money, which is the financial services, I mean, that's the last thing you want to get rid of, because that's the thing that makes the money.
I think the big picture question that nobody's really asking is this: how many existing Harley-Davidson motorcycles are out there? And realistically, how long can they keep running and to the satisfaction of their current owners? In other words, do they need to be replaced? And I think we're really reaching market saturation. I mean, there's piles of big twins from the last 20 years out there. And if I'm a 50-year-old boomer, I'm quite happy to be, I guess a boomer would be 50, they would be Gen X. But I would be quite happy to be on my 2013 switchback for the rest of my riding career, because most of those guys don't ride a whole lot, and it does what they wanted to do. And the ones who do ride it a whole lot also would be happy on those machines.
But it doesn't mean the band's going to go to zero. I mean, people always, they make desirable motorcycles in the eyes of many, and there's many of them that I like. So it doesn't go to zero, but say a third of its production now. I mean, Ducati, think of Ducati. I mean, they only make 55,000 motorcycles a year. I mean, there's not very many.
Well, it's almost a stretch to say they make them, because they're almost all built in Thailand anyway.
Everything's built in Thailand, and I don't care where anything is. This is not me dissing stuff that's not made in where we think it should be made, because everything is made in China and India. But to me, it's just a question of what is your identity? Who are you as a brand? What's the story for 2025 that interested you the most, Zach?
Well, the KTM saga was certainly a big thing. I mean, I think that the takeover by India was inevitable. I am not enough of a financial guru to break down what happened the past few years, but it was very obvious that the company made some terrible decisions during COVID, overproduced, put a lot of effort into producing the wrong models, wrong things that people did not want to buy, because they had so much excess inventory last year. And then, of course, they had the issue with the parallel twin engine cams. That was globally a big problem for a lot of owners, having bad cams on their 790s. And some people still say that that's an issue on their 890s. Now, I don't think that that's officially been recognized, but the 790 problem has been. So the question, after last year's implosion of the company, can everything be changed under the new ownership? What will the company look like? I saw the news today that the RC 390 is canceled in most markets because of poor sales. How will the lineup evolve? Will any of it be made in Austria? Things are going to change a lot in the next decade for KTM, and we'll start to see those changes this winter, probably.
The Lowdown Show is presented by ADVrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com.
Well, I will say this, and not to toot my own horn, but if I don't toot it, who else will? Uh, I was paying attention to Royal Enfield 10 years ago when nobody else was. And I saw their current growth. I watched it happen. And I said, this is going to be a huge company now. I did not anticipate that they would come as far as they have so quickly. But right now, they're making the bikes that people do want, right? They're good looking motorcycles. They're fast enough for the public road and they're affordable. That's where the future of motorcycling, if it's going to be a mass enjoyed activity, that's where the future always is. That's right. In something that people like, and something that they can afford to buy. And right now that's Royal Enfield making that. I'm excited to see what they can come out with this year.
Yeah, I agree with you on Enfield. Michael Eulerich, designer, often contributor to ADVrider and to this podcast. He says that he's going to go buy an electric flying flea. He's very excited about that. And again, I think this goes to my points about Harley. I mean, Enfield, I think more than almost any brand is that they know what they do. They know what they do best. They're not building, like Honda building that Rune, that ridiculous cruiser thing, they just stay within what their language is. And I think that's what they understand, which is sensible motorcycles with a certain degree of flair, well built, and they seem to understand what riders want almost better than any other brand, I would say. Bless you. Who was that? Who sneezed there?
Not me.
Not you. Perhaps one of your two wives. So yeah, I think Enfield would be. I mean, if I was going to start a motorcycle company, and Triumph is to a lesser degree has done that too, but they know what they do, and I think it behooves any brand to find out what they're best at and perfect the narrow wedge of what they can do. Well, since the old year is leaving, Zachary, and the new year is on its way, what do you want to watch in 2026? And of course, that includes Dakar, which is coming up. So start at Dakar and then lead me into 2026.
The Dakar Rally will kick off on January 3rd, running for 2 weeks again in Saudi Arabia as usual. We have come a long way from the old continents, as in 2 continents spanning race. The original Paris-Dakar Rally started in Paris, France, and ended in Dakar in Senegal. And now it just runs in a big loop inside the country of Saudi Arabia. I'm excited to see this year, see if KTM can bring their new riders to the forefront. I'm curious to see if Honda's older riders, particularly Adrian Van Beveren, I'm curious to see if this is his year. I don't think he's got a whole lot of time left in his career. And of course, the Chinese factories are always pressing as well. So it's not the same as it was in the glory days when it ran over multiple countries. Even in South America, I thought that the Dakar Rally was just an amazing event, super exciting to watch. Now it's tamed down a lot now that it's all in one country, but that doesn't take it away. Take away its difficulty. It's still an incredible, hard fought. It's a difficult race over difficult terrain, and winning it is still an amazing feat. It's just lost a bit of the mystique that it once had. Although thankfully, there is still a race that offers all of that. If you are a race fan who's looking for that classic rally raid experience.
What's that? What are you talking about?
The Africa Eco Race. Last year, I believe it ran at the exact same time as Dakar, as the Dakar Rally. So it got lost a bit in the background. But this year, Africa Eco Race runs, I believe, end of February, start of March. And that race starts in Europe, sort of. They get on the boat in Europe and they travel to Africa, and they follow similar mileage to the old Paris-Dakar Rally from the 80s. And the Eco Race is open to larger motorcycles. It's not just a 450 race like the Dakar Rally is. So you see some more interesting stuff there, like more along the lines of classic rally raid with 750 bikes and even
Nice.
well, it is nice. Instead of just seeing basically hopped up dirt bikes, you can see actual, actual desert bikes. All they miss is the cigarette ads on the tank.
Nice. Do they have a bagger class? Do you know?
No bagger class that I'm aware of. Although I think Juan Pedro Garcia might have raced at Harley-Davidson in it last year. He's been racing it all over Europe and Rally Raid and doing very well.
The Pan America?
Yeah, he's done very well in it the last couple of years.
In terms of 2026, my little quip about baggers, one thing that's kind of unexpected is that MotoGP is dumping, to the relief of many, is dumping its electric class. It was a spec bike made by Ducati in recent years. They're getting rid of that, and I think 6 rounds they're having a Harley-Davidson as a one-make bagger cup series, and they're hoping for between 12 and 18 bikes, but 6 to 8 teams, 2 bikes a team, and it will run in with selected MotoGP rounds in Europe. So, what I find interesting about that is it's very much an American culture thing, and how do I put this delicately? American culture isn't trending well globally at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how the European MotoGP fan accepts bagger racing, which is batshit crazy, and I think in a fun way. They make great Instagram and TikTok clips sliding those things around. It's a bit like school bus racing. It's not fun until something terrible happens, especially when the buses are full of children. So I'm really interested to see what the reception will be and how the racing will go. Will it be as interesting as some of the guys in America who push those things incredibly hard? Or will it be sort of a ridiculous sideshow? Either way, everyone wins.
Well, on that note, I remember that Jeremy McWilliams raced them in the States.
That's right.
Last year, the year before. So there is a European precedent there. And I would put it this way. Outside of motorcycles, my favorite class at the Dakar Rally, hands down, is the trucks. And it's not American style trophy trucks. These are like big, actual, legit transport trucks that they race in the desert. And so I think the whole concept of racing large, inappropriate vehicles is actually not that alien to Europeans at all. I think that some of them are going to just love bagger racing. And in regards to our earlier conversation about Harley-Davidson, this might be the boost that the company needs.
New bikes are always fun, especially if you can afford to buy a new bike. What are you looking forward to in 26?
There are 2 or 3 bikes I'm interested in. One is the Royal Enfield Scrambler / Adventure Bike 650, based on that twin. That's been in the Skunk Works program now for several years, and I believe we will see it this coming fall.
So knobby tires and a different exhaust pipe, I guess.
I think it's got more than that. I think they've actually done some chassis work on it, because if it was only knobbies and a high-rise pipe, it would have been out by now, I think.
Right.
The new BMW 450 GS is an interesting bike. I think that the 310 model is going to disappear, and the 450 will be their small CC bike. If they can keep pricing close to the rest of the 450, 500 models, I think it will do extremely well. And I think that the public will take to it in a way that they haven't taken to a BMW since the 650 singles disappeared.
Is the twin or a single?
It's a twin. Yes.
It's twin. Nice.
So on that note, in that 450, 500 class, the new KLE 500, I think Kawasaki will sell every one that they make. I think that will be an incredibly popular bike. And then the big question mark is the Harley-Davidson Sprint. We were supposed to see that, or I shouldn't say we were supposed to see it. The dealers were supposed to see that bike in, I think, October or November, sometime this fall. And I expected that the public would also see some sort of a sketch or drawing of the bike, some sort of thing to interest them. And I've seen nothing. Maybe dealers were given a peek at it, maybe they weren't. I don't know, but it seems very strange to me that I haven't heard anything about it. So what that bike will look like, or if something's happened and it's been canceled, I really don't know. But I'm interested to see what Harley-Davidson can come up with if it goes forward as planned.
It's because they're ashamed of it. That's why they're not showing any photographs. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you as well.
The Lowdown Show is presented by ADVrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. Ever try to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? Well, that era is over. Now, with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery. It's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. Thank you for listening to The Lowdown Show.